What's up, everybody? My name is Zach. I'm a Widener University physical therapy student, and I'm here to take you through your first of many 1-minute challenges. So today we're going to go over the push-up. We're going to go over a normal push-up form first, and then we'll talk about some regressions and progressions. The first thing we want to look at is our body position. There's a couple things we want to think about when we get into this position. The first is just to think about keeping a nice straight line from your shoulders down to your toes. The way we do this is by keeping a nice tight core and nice tight glutes, right? So I'm going to squeeze the glutes, make sure they don't drop on me, and I want to keep my belly button up in my spine to activate my core. I want to avoid sitting here with a sagged back. That's going to put a lot of tension on the lumbar, that low back, and we don't want that, right? So the belly button's up, abs are tight, glutes are tight and tucked. Next, I want to look at my shoulder position. So shoulders, I want to make sure they're right on top of my wrist when I start here. Throughout this movement, I want to avoid the shrug. That's going to put tension up into the neck and into the shoulder, which we also don't want. So I want to think about keeping my shoulders down in my pocket the whole time, right? So shoulders on top of the wrist and down in the pocket. Abs are tight, glutes are on, and from here, we're going to go through that push-up position, trying to maintain that form the whole time. Okay? Next thing we want to look at is the elbow position. Now, if you're somebody who sets up with a wider stance or narrow stance, all we want to think about is making sure that the elbow stays stacked on top of the wrist and avoid having it go too far out. Okay? So if you're somebody who sets up with a wider stance here, just make sure that elbow stays right on top of the wrist the whole time without having the elbows go out to the side. Okay? If you're someone who sets up a little bit more narrow, just think about hugging your body a little bit more as you go through that movement. So we're nice and tight and in, making sure the elbow stays right on top of the wrist the whole time. Okay? So now let's talk about some regressions and progressions to make this easier or harder. We'll start with making it a little bit easier. The first thing you can do is just drop to the knees and maintain that same body position. So instead of being on my toes, I'm set up on my knees. I want to think about that same straight line from my shoulder down to my knees now instead of my toes. Abs are on, glutes are tight, shoulders are down in the pocket and right on top of the wrist. And we're going to go through that same motion, just pushing off from the knees rather than the toes. Okay? Another way to make this a little bit easier is just grab a chair. You can do this on the edge of a table, the edge of a counter, any elevated surface. This is going to take some pressure off the body. We're going to get into that same push-up position, and from here, we're just going to go through that same form, just pushing off that elevated surface. You can take that same elevated surface and we can make it harder now. So by taking that elevated surface, I'm going to put my feet on top of it instead of my hands. This will put a little bit more pressure on the upper body, and we're going to go through that same push-up form. Okay? So the challenge today is to see how many push-ups you can do in 1 minute. Let's see what you got. Good luck.